If you're looking for new anime to try out or old ones to watch with new episodes, Verve is the place to be. Black Clover, Demon Slayer, the most talked about anime right now, Dr. Stone, and new episodes of Don Machi and the critically acclaimed new arc of One Piece are available on Verve in high definition right now, vrv.co/geekdom. Try the streaming service for free with that link and enjoy these shows as well as classic episodes of all your favorite anime from the past. vrv.co/geekdom. I've been trying to get this video out now for a few days, but there's been a lot of news and other videos I had to produce first. But I want to talk about Kevin Feige Star Wars. For those who may have missed the news, apparently Disney is going to let Kevin Feige, who is basically the mastermind behind the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the guy who put it all together, the producer of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the organizer, I guess you could say, they're going to let him produce a Star Wars movie. And the news came out a few days ago, and I wanted to do a video kind of giving my thoughts on Kevin Feige working with the Star Wars franchise. Now, the reason as to why I think they gave him the spot is because he's been a very successful producer. Now, Kathleen Kennedy came in when George Lucas pretty much picked her to run Lucasfilm, and then Bob Iger and Disney purchased Lucasfilm, so she kind of became part of Disney. A lot of people thought she was a Disney employee first, but from what I understand, she was not. She was on Lucasfilm first, but obviously people think that her ideals and her sort of ethics kind of go along with the Disney, with the message Disney wants to send. Whatever message that may be. But it seems to be like they kind of work together well, or some people think they do. But nonetheless, so she comes in, she does Force Awakens, big success, makes a ton of money. Last Jedi makes a lot of money too, but it in many ways hurt Star Wars because of the divisiveness of the film. I don't have to tell you, if you're a subscriber to this channel, you kind of already know that, Last Jedi hurt Star Wars, and then Solo came out and was also divisive, and because of all the reshoots and all the controversy behind the scenes with directors, and she fires people and this and that, it's been kind of a bumpy road for Star Wars, and a lot of people have given up on Star Wars, on Disney Star Wars. A lot of people have, myself included. It's not like I'm not going to go see Rise of Skywalker, because I will go see Rise of Skywalker in the theater. It's just that I'm not as hyped for it as I should be. Going into this final act, the end of the saga, the Skywalker saga, I should be feeling so excited right now because I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was 4 years old, right? 4 years old. And going into Infinity War, right, that the MCU is only about 11 years old. And I got so hyped for not just Infinity War, but also Endgame. But I mean, I got so hyped for those movies because it was the beginning of the final chapter of the Infinity Saga. So here we are with Star Wars, something that I grew up with, the end of the saga, and I just feel nothing. I just feel like, okay, I'm going to go see it. It's going to look good. It's going to sound good, right? You'll probably get some good acting, some good fights, but will it really be a good story? Well, I covered some spoilers here on the channel recently that came out from Jedi Praxis, and I'm not a fan of the way that movie ends. I am not a fan of what they do in this film at all. But again, we'll see what happens in execution. But nonetheless, a lot of folks have been saying that the reason why Feige got hired here to produce a Star Wars movie, not direct, produce a Star Wars movie, is because of a move of desperation. They feel like Kevin Feige being brought in is them telling the world, like, yeah, we're going to bring in a guy who has a track record of success to produce a Star Wars film. Now, that may be true. In fact, that's probably likely. And it makes you wonder, what does that say about Kathy Kennedy? Does that mean that Disney's given up on, or not given up completely, but does it mean that they've kind of realized she might not be the right person for the job? She might be working on other projects. I mean, she's not just the person who's producing, the head honcho at Lucasfilm. She's not just that. She has other projects to work on. So, could that be it? Or could it be they're just saying that? It's tough to say, but one thing I can tell you is that the reason why the MCU worked, right? The reason, or not the reason, but a big reason. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, Robert Downey's contributions were great. Jon Favreau's contributions. MCU came together because of a team effort. It really was. Everybody who worked on these films, even the bad ones like Thor 2, everyone who worked on these films worked really hard for 11 years, and they put together this magic franchise that, it's only been around for 11 years, like I said, but it's so successful. Like, it's crazy as to how successful it is, and obviously they're adapted from the books, but still, like, for movies, they changed the game. So Kevin Feige is the guy who pretty much puts all this together, him and his team. So they're bringing him in, but the reason why it was so successful, or a big reason, is because Kevin Feige is such a big fan of Marvel. Feige has an incredible amount of knowledge of the source material. He worked as a producer for the old X-Men films through Fox. He's worked in the Marvel sphere for years before getting this position. So he is so familiar with Marvel. Now, in the articles that are coming out about Kevin Feige, they're saying, oh, well, he's a huge Star Wars fan. And if he is a huge Star Wars fan, we haven't seen it. Now, I'm not saying he's not a huge Star Wars fan because I've never spoken to the man myself, but I feel like he would have to be a big Star Wars fan to take on this project and not just be kind of a poser fan, if that makes sense. Now, one thing I will say is I don't think they would hire him if he was a poser fan, but he only got hired, to my knowledge, based on the articles that came out, for one movie. So he's only going to be producing one film. And that, to me, is a little weird. Why would you produce one movie when you're bringing in people to do multiple films? Rian Johnson and the Game of Thrones guys all have their own trilogies. And, of course, that begs the question, is he going to be working on a new Star Wars film that is not one of these? Or is it the first film in the upcoming Game of Thrones trilogy, or Game of Thrones producer trilogy, or director trilogy? Like, which is it? So we don't really know. Like, we don't know. And is he going to be able to work with them? And also, will he be able to work with Kathleen Kennedy? Because it's no secret, no matter what side you're on, that she's had issues with other directors. Now, obviously, he's a producer. Can multiple producers really come together in sync and produce a good Star Wars film? And here's the real question that kind of is in my mind is, will we care? Because the Skywalker saga is over. Based on what I've read in the spoilers, whether they're true or not, we'll find out. That ending to me is very unsatisfactory. I feel like it's going to literally, that ending, I mean, Last Jedi hurt the Star Wars franchise. I think that ending is just another, just kicking the grave. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to hurt it as much as Last Jedi, but it just feels like a kick in the balls. Like, it really does. Are we going to care? You know what I mean? Are we really going to care? Because I feel like when the nostalgia train ends, which it looks like it is ending, because Darth Vader, he appeared in Rogue One, obviously. The sequel trilogy had, Harrison Ford and all these people coming back. You have Solo. You have all these movies that are essentially all retreads. There's nothing new in these films. Nothing. It's all looking at old characters and old parts of the timeline, which is fine, but are fans going to care about a new Star Wars story? You know what I mean? And people are like, oh, well, we want to see Revan and the Old Republic. Like, yeah, maybe, but how do you know they won't screw it up? Because they already screwed this up. Like, you're handed, well, they weren't handed. They paid $4 billion for it, but they got this huge Star Wars, hype behind the sequel trilogy. You got Harrison Ford to come back. You got Mark Hamill to come back. Carrie Fisher, when she was alive, came back. You've got the sequel to one of the greatest film franchises ever. Maybe the greatest trilogy in the history of film. The Star Wars trilogy. You can produce a sequel and you screw it up this bad. You have no plan, and people believe they can actually make a good, Old Republic movie. I don't know. Like, I don't know if they can. I hope they can. I want to see good Star Wars, but we don't know for sure if they can. You know what I'm saying? And their track record is not really the best, because to be real with you, when you look back on these movies, Rogue One was fun, but Rogue One was also boring in some parts. And, Solo, I like Solo, but I don't love it. Like, it's just, I saw it once and I never want to see it again. And when it comes to Star Wars, even when the prequels came out, I wanted to watch those movies multiple times, even though they're not that good. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy that I don't even feel that kind of love for the new Star Wars films. The only one that I really loved was Force Awakens when it first came out, and now it doesn't hold up as much as it did back then, because I was so into the mystery boxes back then that are kind of crap, if compared to, like, the answers are kind of crap now compared to what we had heard. So either way, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to get fans back on their side. I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, hey, well, you got this guy who is, he produced the MCU, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, we got you MCU guy here. You guys should love us again. I don't know if that's their goal here, but we need to be careful with this, man, and it's before getting on that hype train. And luckily, most people that I've seen online have seen through the BS, bro, and they're like, oh, I know what you're doing with this, and we're not going to get excited for it until we see more. And that's the smart thing to look at it, because they really have done damage to the franchise, and I'm not so sure Kevin Feige is the answer. And in fact, if he's not the answer, he might end up hurting his reputation. You know, he might end up hurting his batting average, which is a pretty good one, I would say, so far. You know, David Stewart made a video saying he thinks that Kevin Feige should retire because after the Infinity Saga, he's hit a peak that can never be matched, and I kind of see where he's coming from. Obviously, you don't want to just retire, but Kevin Feige's on top of the world right now, yo, and Phase 4 is a rebuilding phase, so it probably won't be as epic as Phase 3, but still, Phase 3 was like his absolute peak as a producer. He might never hit those heights again. Just be real. Let's be real about it. It's such a high bar to set, you know? And doing Star Wars, I mean, again, obviously it's a paycheck, and this dude, you know, I don't like the idea that Kevin Feige can do no wrong, because he definitely is not perfect in any way, but is he the right guy for Star Wars? And more importantly, will we care? Will we really care? I mean, they bought this franchise. They want to make money on it. They're going to keep doing it. I don't know what else they can do but just keep going. So really, I can't blame them for continuing the saga. It's just, where do we go from here? I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Kevin Feige working with Kathy Kennedy on Star Wars. Which, again, that could be a problem. Like, they might not get along. You never know. You never know. We start hearing reports about backstage turmoil or behind the scenes turmoil. You know, you never know. But thank you again. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.